Welcome once again to StoryPath English. I am so glad you have found your way back to our circle. Please, take a moment to settle in. Find a place where you can feel truly at ease, perhaps in a favorite chair, or tucked under a warm blanket. Let your shoulders drop, release the tension in your jaw, and let the busy, modern world fade away for a while. Imagine, if you will, that we are sitting together by a warm, glowing campfire. The night is vast and silent, and the stars above us are like scattered diamonds on a bed of black velvet. The air is cool and crisp, carrying the scent of wood smoke and the faint, sweet promise of distant gardens. The only sound is the rhythmic crackle of the flames, casting a soft, golden light on our faces. Tonight, I want to take you on a journey across the world and back through time to a place of immense beauty, terrifying power, and profound silence. I want to tell you the story of the Forbidden City, life inside China's golden cage. Close your eyes and imagine a city within a city. Picture a massive fortress of red walls and golden tiled roofs sitting in the very heart of Beijing. For 500 years, this was the center of the universe for the Chinese people. But it was a place that almost no one was allowed to see. If you were an ordinary person living in old Beijing, you could walk past those high red walls, but you would never know what lay behind them. To enter without permission was a crime punishable by death. It was a world of whispers, hidden behind a veil of mystery. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to have everything you could ever want? Silk clothes, the finest food, a palace of gold, but never be allowed to leave? That is the secret of the Forbidden City. It was the most magnificent home on earth, but for many who lived there, it was a golden cage. Our story begins in the early 1400s with a powerful and ambitious emperor named Yongle. He decided to move the capital of China to Beijing and wanted to build a palace that would show the world the true glory of the Ming dynasty. He didn't want just a house. He wanted a symbol of heaven on earth. Imagine the scale of this project. It took over 1 million workers and 100,000 artisans 15 years to build. They brought precious Phoebe-Genon wood from the deep jungles of the south, logs so heavy they took years to transport. They brought massive blocks of marble from the mountains, moving them in the winter by pouring water on the roads to create a path of ice, then sliding the stones for miles. The floors were laid with golden bricks, not made of real gold, but of a special clay that was baked for months until it rang like metal when struck. They say there are 9,999.5 rooms in the palace because only heaven could have 10,000. Can you see it in your mind? The sun hitting those yellow roof tiles, making the whole city look like it is made of solid fire. But why was it forbidden? To understand this, we must understand how the emperor was seen. He was the Son of Heaven. He was the bridge between the gods and the people. To keep his power, he had to be seen as something more than human. He lived in total isolation, surrounded by walls that are 30 feet high and a moat that is 170 feet wide. Step inside the gates with me in your imagination. We pass through the massive Meridian Gate and walk across a vast courtyard of white marble. The air is still. There are no trees here. Do you know why? The emperors were so afraid of assassins that they refused to let trees grow in the outer courtyards, so no one could hide in the shadows. Even the bricks under your feet are laid 15 layers deep, so that no enemy could ever tunnel into the palace from underground. It was a fortress of absolute security and absolute loneliness. In the center stands the Hall of Supreme Harmony. This was the heart of the empire. Inside, the emperor sat on the dragon throne, surrounded by incense, smoke, and the sound of bells. When he moved, he didn't walk on the ground like you or me. He was carried in a magnificent chair, and he traveled along a central ramp carved with dragons that no other person was allowed to touch. But what was life like for the people who lived there every day? For the emperor, life was a series of endless rituals. He could not choose his own clothes. He was dressed by servants in yellow silk embroidered with 9 dragons. He could not eat a simple meal. Every dinner was a feast of over 100 dishes, but he could only take a few bites of each so that no one would know his favorite food and try to poison it. He was the most powerful man in the world, yet he could not even choose his own breakfast. And then there were the women, the empresses and the concubines. Imagine being a young girl of 15, chosen for your beauty and grace to live in the palace. You would move into the inner court, a maze of beautiful gardens and small houses. On the outside, your life was one of luxury. You wore jade jewelry and spent your days painting or playing music. But you could never, ever leave. You were separated from your family forever. You lived in a world of constant competition, hoping the emperor would notice you, fearing the jealousy of others. Many of these women spent their entire lives behind those red walls, looking at the same patch of sky, wondering what the world outside looked like. It was a life of quiet waiting. The only other men allowed in the inner court were the eunuchs' men, who had sacrificed their ability to have families of their own to serve the imperial family. At one time, there were 3,000 eunuchs living in the city. They were the messengers, the cooks, the cleaners, and the secret keepers. They were the invisible hands that kept the golden cage running. Have you ever felt the weight of tradition? In the Forbidden City, tradition was everything. Every color meant something. Yellow was for the emperor. Red was for joy and luck. The number 9 was everywhere because it was the highest single digit, representing the emperor's supreme power. The city was built on a perfect north-south line, the central axis, because the emperor was the pole star around which the whole world turned. But even the strongest walls cannot keep out the change of time. As the centuries passed, the world outside began to change. The Ming dynasty fell, and the Qing dynasty took its place. The palace saw wars, fires, and the rise and fall of families, but inside the walls, the rituals stayed the same. It was as if the Forbidden City was a clock that had stopped. By the early 1900s, the Golden Cage became a tragic place. The last emperor, a small boy named Puyi, was crowned when he was only 2 years old. Imagine a toddler sitting on that massive dragon throne, with thousands of grown men bowing to him. He grew up in a world that no longer existed. Outside the walls, China was becoming a republic. There were cars, telephones, and new ideas. But inside, Puyi was still treated like a god. He lived in a dream. He played with a bicycle in the courtyards and wore Western glasses, but he was a prisoner of his own title. In 1924, he was finally ordered to leave. The gates were opened, and for the first time in 500 years, the Son of Heaven walked out into the streets of Beijing as an ordinary citizen. The silence of the Forbidden City was finally broken. Today, the Forbidden City is no longer a cage. It is a museum, a place where millions of people from all over the world come to walk. They walk through the same halls where emperors once whispered. They look at the same jade carvings that concubines once touched with lonely fingers. When you stand in the middle of those vast courtyards today, you can still feel the power of the place. You feel small against the massive red walls, but you also feel a sense of peace. The dragons on the roof are still there, watching the sky, but they are no longer guarding a secret. They are guarding a memory. The Forbidden City teaches us something important about the human heart. It shows us that we can build the most beautiful things in the search for security and status. We can surround ourselves with gold and marble to feel important, but if we lose our connection to the world, if we lose our freedom to walk among the trees and speak to our neighbors, even a palace becomes a prison. The true beauty of the Forbidden City today is that it belongs to everyone. It is a bridge to the past, reminding us of the incredible skill and art of the people who built it. It reminds us of a time when the world was seen as a place of magic and ritual. But it also reminds us to cherish our own freedom. The freedom to move, to choose, and to live outside the walls. As our campfire begins to burn low and the embers glow with a soft, pulsing orange, let's take a moment to reflect. Imagine the moon rising over those golden roofs in Beijing. The tourists are gone, the gates are locked, and the city is quiet. The ghosts of the past are resting. History is a teacher, and the Forbidden City is one of its greatest lessons. It tells us that power is fleeting, but art and stories are eternal. The emperors are gone, but the beauty they created remains for us to wonder at. Thank you for sitting with me today at Story Path English. I hope this story of the Golden Cage has touched your heart and made you look at the world a little differently. The stars are still bright above us, and the night is peaceful. May you always have the freedom to follow your own path, and may you find beauty in the places you go without ever feeling trapped by them. As the fire fades, carry the warmth of this story with you into your dreams. The night is still, and the air is soft. May you find your own version of a palace, but may its doors always be open to the world. Sleep well, or go about your day with a sense of gratitude for the life you lead. Until we meet again by the fire, remember that every wall has a story, and every story is a path to understanding. This is the story of the Forbidden City, and this is Story Path English. Goodbye for now, my friends.